Yeah.
It is absolutely amazing. I haven't read it all because it's quite long, but I love what they talk about, like the presence, having like presence emerge in a painting instead of whatever, I can't remember the words, but
she talked about
really
presence and embodiment, right? It was like, how do we embody? And this is what I was left with, because I'm on passage number 5 of reading it again. And it's like this: we can have the world be what it is, and we get a visceral reaction, and we have a feeling about it, and we take that feeling inside. When we paint, it's like taking the feeling and turning it into the outside. So it's, what is it that we actually are feeling, and articulating these little fragments of thoughts and stirring that like a pot. And I was also left with the idea of Eros and Psyche, what we desire and what love actually is, and holding space in the middle, as if we're inviting all these feelings up for a cup of tea, or we're a mama bear trying to collect all these thoughts and really take care with them so we can embody them from the inside out, instead of the out coming in and then trying to duplicate. And there's so many, I mean, there's been so many thoughts around what it means when we articulate an experience, which is different than manufacturing a product. Yeah, and so there were a lot of heavy things that I was left with. Here was the quote: "It's not so much that the thought is felt, but the feeling is thought." I'm going to say that again. Not so much that a thought is felt, but the feeling is thought, and then brought out through our sense of embodiment, being present, holding presence. And it's also being willing to look at our shadows, because our shadows is sometimes where our deepest gifts of making artwork come from. And that's a tall order too. I mean, I could sit here and say, look at your shadow, but what does that really mean? The best advice I can give to what that really means is sit down and have a cup of tea with your own self, with what feels uncomfortable, and to hold within our bellies centeredness. And the whole world right now, with all the chaos and being told what to thought, and somebody says this and somebody says that, and we have this black and white political ping pong, and yet we need to think for ourselves. And thinking for ourselves is the same as feeling for ourselves in making paintings. That was heavy, sorry. Anybody else have some more thoughts on that? Yes.
I have
Hi, Marianne.
That just, I want to say thank you, because based on classes I've taken with you, I started what I consider to be a highly experimental large piece in between, and it's cool. I like it, and I have no idea what it'll turn out to be, but I just took a chance, so thank you.
I think the more we can take chances, experiment wildly, that's how we get to authenticity. I've done this. Tell me if you've all done this. I'll be painting away, doing that thing I know is gonna look good, and all of a sudden I'll get something that creeps in, and I'm like, where'd that come from? No, I can't do that. That's like a monster with ears. I'm not a representational painter. I'm not doing it. And so I stay in and then my box gets smaller and smaller. But if I take that risk and make that ugly monster that came into my head, you know what? That's the curiosity that will take me somewhere else, that takes me to all those little islands that are floating in my head, that brings the joy of discovery that isn't always easy, but that's the ticket. That's the golden ticket to your voice. Somebody else? It's also called finding that third thing. We have one thing, we have another thing, but there's a third thing that is usually what we call soul. It's the soul. Okay.